I think the system is much safer and much sounder. And as I mentioned, we're doing a lot more for financial stability. Would I say there will never, ever be another financial crisis? No, probably that would be going too far, but I do think we're much safer, and I hope that it will not be in our lifetimes, and I don't believe it will be.
Our system is flawed. It will collapse. We probably won't have enough good sense to just cut back because the people who are dependent on the government.
The richest people are leaving the country and are getting their cash out as fast as possible.
What we're experiencing globally is a rejection of the U.S. dollar.
It's the biggest bubble I've seen in history. This book, The Sale of a Lifetime, my new book that looks at every bubble in history, looks at all the bubbles around the world. They all look alike. They all grow exponentially.
We have something arriving worse than 2008 and 2009. The downturn is much worse.
I mean, this is not just going to be the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. This is going to be the worst crisis, including the Great Depression.
And how big a crash can we deliver?
It'll be the worst in your lifetime.
Problem is that we create bubbles even bigger than the last one, and when those bubbles burst, our economy's going to be in worse shape than ever.
I think it's going to get a lot worse as it progresses, but this is going to be greater than the Great Depression.
Sometime this year, a couple of things are going to happen. One is first, more likely or sooner, Italy has a huge debt crisis. It's close to default. Deutsche Bank is flaming out, as well as other Italian banks. Germany has the worst demographics in the world, like Japan I saw in the 1990s ahead of time. So we're going to have a blow up in Germany and Southern Europe. Second thing, at some point, and it may take longer because the Chinese do have so much power in their economy, the China bubble is going to blow, and that's going to be the death knell.
It's coming. And the next time it comes, in 2008 we had a problem because of debt. Henry, the debt. Now, that debt was nothing compared to what's happening now. In 2008, the Chinese had a lot of money saved for a rainy day. It started raining, they started spending the money. Now even the Chinese have debt, and the debt is so much higher. The Federal Reserve, the central bank in America, balance sheet is up over 5 times since 2008. It's going to be the worst in my lifetime too.
There will be a lot of inflation for all prices. At the same time, the economy will be weak. They might call it stagflation. We didn't have a recent depression. It was just a super recession in the same way with this. They're not going to call it, an inflationary depression, but that's possible. And the worst scenario for that would be things like Zimbabwe and Venezuela.
There are a handful of jobs that have proven to be recession-proof. This means that even when things are tight and money isn't particularly flowing as much, certain goods and services are still going to be in high demand. If you have one of those jobs, you should still be able to bring home a wage and keep your family above water, so long as it's not an all-out end-of-the-world scenario. So, what jobs am I talking about? Here are the 20 of the best jobs to have during a major economic recession, or indeed a depression. 1. Paramedic. There will always be a need for emergency services. The money to fund these services comes through taxes, which we all know is as inevitable as death. Even during a depression, there is still money to pay for things like paramedics and ambulances. This is a service that no one can do without, and the money will be found to keep it alive. 2. Food production. During a recession, you obviously want a job that pertains to an industry that people simply can't do without. Food falls into that category. However, you don't want a job related to industrial farming. That employment field has consistently declined over the years due to automation. The production of organic food is where it's really going on. Whether it's growing organic food, shipping it, marketing it, or selling it, that's the food industry you want to be in. Organic food sales have increased year after year since the year 2000. There was a slowdown in sales during the last recession, but growth in that industry continues nonetheless. More and more people are seeing the benefits in eating better food, healthier food, and many of them are willing to pay even more for it, even when they don't have as much money. Which makes sense, because who are we kidding? What good is money when you're too sick to earn it and too frail to enjoy spending it? 3. Truck drivers are another necessity. There has to be a way to get goods from point A to point B. While the work may not be quite as abundant, it will be around. 4. Police officers. They will be in high demand. When an economic collapse happens, crime tends to spike. This position is similar to that of paramedics. People want to feel safe, and that includes government officials, so they will make sure there's enough money to pay the police force. 5. Farmers. They may actually experience an uptick in their local business. After all, people have to eat. If you are a farmer who can set up a local stand, you have a great shot at selling your goods, as long as you can compete with the supermarkets, of course. A collapse generally equates to higher food prices. People will not be able to afford fresh food prices at the store and will support local farmers instead. 6. Renewable energy. Anything related to renewable energy will likely continue to experience growth during a recession, for the simple very fact that governments, companies, and individuals all want to save money. While there are several different kinds of renewable energy such as wind, biomass, geothermal, etc., solar has been leading the pack for some time and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Regardless of whether it's the manufacture, transportation, marketing, or even installation of solar panels and accessories, you can expect growth in this field during a recession. 7. Utility workers. They are also going to keep working. Powerline, meter repair, and telephone repair workers will all have steady work. Basic necessities like power, water, and phone services are always going to be here. 8. Security guards. They may also see an increase in their work rate. With a tight economy, there will be plenty of people who will risk jail by attempting to steal things. It's no secret that crime rates often go up when the economy falls apart. To be fair, burglaries, murders, and robberies didn't go up in the US during the last recession, but that usually isn't the case. When you look throughout history in any place in the world, you'll usually find that all sorts of crimes become more frequent when there is less money to go around. If the crisis is so bad that otherwise successful people fail to earn enough money to feed and house themselves and their families, you can expect to see more crimes where you live. 9. Medical professionals are always going to have a place in the job force. A poor economy does not mean people stop going to the doctor or needing medical attention. Doctors and nurses will still have jobs to report to. There may not be as many hours for nurses, but the jobs will definitely be there. 10. Surgical technologists, lobotomists, lab assistants. You don't necessarily need to be a doctor or a nurse to take advantage of it. There are plenty of jobs in the medical field that don't require a 4 or 8-year college degree. There are EMTs, surgical technologists, lobotomists, lab assistants, and physical therapy aides. Even security guards and janitors can make above average wages compared to their peers when working in a hospital setting. 11. Teachers have been around for hundreds of years, and they are not going anywhere soon. While there are often budget cuts that limit the number of teaching jobs available, teachers will always have a place in society. A person may need to move to another city to find a teaching job, but a little flexibility can ensure there is a steady paycheck coming home. 12. Pharmacy technicians are fairly safe from an economic collapse also. The doctors will still be in business and they will still be prescribing medicines to their patients. 13. Sales and marketing. It doesn't really matter what business you work for, or even if you work for yourself. Most things don't sell themselves. And, even in a recession, the ability to convince other people to buy a product or service suddenly becomes a much more key skill. It could be a sales, merchandising, advertising, or copywriting position. If you have a knack for closing a deal or enticing new customers, you should do well in any company or any economic climate. 14. Internet marketing will be very popular during another recession. Businesses will cut back in some areas, but they have to market themselves, and doing that via websites and other internet marketing strategies will be the best plan. Most cost-effective option also. People who have IT training will also have a marketable skill and can still earn a decent wage even in a recession. 15. Correctional officers and prison employees have a pretty steady future. Unfortunately, a recession tends to result in higher crime rates, which means more people will be heading to jail or prison. 16. Mental health professionals will be busy as well. A recession can lead to depression and a whole host of other mental problems. Private facilities may not fare too well, but there will always be a demand in the public sector. 17. Clergy members will also have secure jobs. Many people will rely on their faith to get them through the hard times, and they will seek spiritual guidance. 18. Firefighters are another public service that people simply cannot live without. Being willing to move will help ensure you can find a job doing what you know. There will be some job cuts, but firefighting services are always going to be here. Wildlife firefighters are also an option. Oftentimes, these people are contracted to help out around the world. 19. Engineers in all fields will always have a place in the job market. Green technology is going to be a big deal. Infrastructure is also important and one of the first things the government will funnel money to in order to stimulate the economy. 20. Morticians and funeral homes are always going to be around. Death is sadly a part of life, and it doesn't just stop when the economy slows. While fancy headstones and elaborate caskets are not going to be massive sellers, urns and other more economical burials will be a part of life that simply has to be budgeted for. It's wise to get training and certifications you need to get one of these jobs. Don't put it off until you can no longer afford the education needed. Many of these professions require several years of education. Tenure and being a little higher on the ladder will also ensure you are safe from layoffs and cutbacks that tend to occur when the economy collapses.